Okay, so on this last page there are a few kind of meta settings. There's a gadget color, so you know how if you grab a track, like that, they're all different colors and stuff. That's how you do it. You just set it through there. So if I drag it on here, there it is. And that affects the color of the gadget. It's not a full color picker thing, probably because there's so many other settings going on in this gadget. But all the way to the top, and it's like grayed out or white maybe. I don't know if I go here. Yeah, so it's kind of grey. Polyphonic limit. So let's take that off again. And make some chords. So as we saw the other day, turn on the chord settings. I've got both of them on. So if we just make this more complex, like that. No, wrong one again. Right. And record it. Then in here, you see that there are, as expected, like multiple notes playing at once. And so if there's 4 notes playing at once, it needs to be able to play multiple notes at once, like polyphonic, as it were. So for this instrument, it has a limit of 20. If we reduce that to 1, you only get 1 of those notes at a time. We're going to increase it to 2 and 3 and then 4. Now it's playing all of them. That's what that does. So say let's make a really low note. Delete all that and use the tools, draw notes. So that's pretty low. And I'll make a really high one. Like that. So the higher note is going really fast across there, it's playing it really fast. But if you turn that off, it's kind of trying to play at the same speed. It kind of struggles a bit because it's kind of faking it. But that's what that does. That's why that's normally on, because it usually sounds better. Right, let's undo that. Okay, so if we turn on row mapping, then instead of it using like the different notes, these different samples as different notes, turn on row mapping and it doesn't care about that. All it cares about is which button you're pressing. So now if we remove that, then we go here and we play it. And see what that does. So I was playing X, square, triangle and circle, I believe. And it's playing things from those rows. So it will play a random one from here when you press circle, one from here when you press square, and so on. If there's only one, then it will just play that one sample when you press down, for example. And that's what row mapping does. So that's usually on a on like a sample based instrument, like a drum kit. So that is on row mapping, and it has that sample is when you press triangle, that sample when you press X, and you can move all these around however you wish. And one thing to note is if there's like a gap, like you have something for X but nothing for square, it will default to playing whatever's on X. So it doesn't, you're not like suddenly playing nothing in the middle of a performance. Multi-language. So this is set to EN because I'm using an English language setting or whatever, but you can hold X and change it to whatever you want. I don't know what dash means, probably just play for any of them, and then it will only play that thing if we're using that setting for that language on our console. So if you just record thing, I think it plays anyway because I'm editing it, but if you were to have this on and they didn't have the language you'd set there, then they wouldn't be able to hear that when they play it normally. So that's what multi-language does. Put it into instrument mode, and now we have this extra one called slice key tracking. So when that's off, then if I just record, so you can tell like it's just playing a random note instead of it playing a D sharp. So if you play time, you can see it's choosing any random note and it's got these pink dots showing it's playing. If you turn on slice key tracking, then we have down in the bottom right corner we have the note, and I looked at this in the previous thing, but you have to have slice key tracking on for that to work, and then you can edit this, and while you hold this it plays like a sine wave tone of middle C, and you kind of adjust this so that until they sound the same, and then it knows what note it actually is. Sound channels are useful if you have something like a mixer, something like that. Then if I grab that, I'll get in a different instrument. And just paste it on top of that, and it kind of replaces it. Cool, and I'll just shift those. Shift those to the right. Oh, I've got a camera setting turned up high. Cool. Cool. So that sounds a bit dreadful, but it's for the sake of science. So if we set these to different channels, we've got different things like general A, music, voice, character, background, and gameplay. These sound lights. So this is on music, so we can turn down the music. Actually, and now that sounds louder. But if we turn that on a different one, voice, we can turn that one down. Like that. So you can affect these different channels. Also, one cool thing is if they are on music, or if I believe if they're in a timeline. So if we set these both to different random ones other than music, and we trim it there, make it a loop. Then we can set set them all to music, and now they'll all be using the music setting. Even though they weren't on the music setting themselves over here, that's all ignored because it's in this timeline. And the advantage of that, of actually having music on the music channel, is if the player is using Spotify or something to play music from on their PS4 while they're playing the game, then all the music channel stuff will be muted just automatically for them, which is a really nice feature. That's what that one does, and I think that's about it.